creative, interesting ideas, and this is what we're witnessing now.
And well, we are like 50 minutes into play, and we already have our first Armageddon between Hikaru Nakamura and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. And there is everything to play for here. White will have 10 minutes on. 10 minutes on the clock. Yeah, sorry, I was on the verge of saying 10 seconds, and I was like, no, you can't say 10 seconds. 10 minutes on the clock, and Black will have 7 minutes. And this is the most important thing, that White will have to win. Black gets the draw odds, and the players are given a 1 second piece of hope because they get some increment after move 40. And there we see Hikaru in a must-win situation. He can't obviously repeat the same line that he played in the classical game against Shak. And there you go, handshake, and they are off. And Hikaru playing the Reti opening and following up with b3.
Yeah, this is his tried and tested blitz repertoire. He does this pretty much consistently online. Therefore, no big surprise for Mamedyarov. And a quick start to this game. Black occupying the center, White playing in the Reti. And, well, bishop takes f6, wrecking the black pawn structure at the cost of the bishop pair, Judith.
I find it very interesting and brave to go to this kind of system, go for the very slow play, because giving up the bishop pair is also something that you might be hesitant, right? But probably he knows what he develop his pieces. He knows that Shakhriyar is a player who makes the position complicated, so it's not that he wants to be so solid. But it seems like Hikaru wants to have something incredibly solid game and then play it out and maybe playing for the time element of the Armageddon.
And he's really utilizing the idea that when you're fighting against the bishop pair, you should set up your pawns on the same color complexion on the bishop that you don't have. So there you go. They're all on dark squares. But how is Hikaru actually going to win this? Because he has to make a break at some point in the game.
He will have to make a break, and he first has to maneuver his knights to better squares. Black is rock solid here, of course. Maybe the one big target long term is the d5 pawn. This pawn is fixed in the center. If White's knights ever land up on better squares, okay, nice retreat there. Knight e1, showing the point. Knight d3, knight f4. Then this pawn could eventually become a long-term target. So I don't know. I have analysed these types of positions. Actually, I think I've looked at the exact position after bishop takes f6 myself. With computers, I'm not impressed, but Hikaru knows the exceptions. He knows which positions are easy to play, and he has vast experience from all of his blitz games online in this type of structure. That's why he's able to move so quickly, and we can see already Mamedyarov may be less comfortable. He has played quite slowly up to this point.
He has indeed, only 5.5 minutes on the clock, and Mamedyarov developing the light squared bishop, a great move.
But already after knight f4, he will have to make a decision. Probably he wants to go bishop e4, centralizing the bishop with provoking Nakamura, but it's not so easy for White to play f3 because then the bishop takes the knight and the e3 pawn will be vulnerable. So after bishop f4, what is he up to?
Wow, creative. Bishop h3. Normally you want to get rid of the bishop pair here, but Black's bishop may be a bit of a target for White's pieces, whereas the white bishop is needed to hit that d5 pawn later.
Well, it's definitely an idea which comes well when you play an Armageddon game and you want to surprise your opponent. So the idea is that one time f3 will come, but probably before that White will develop his knight to d2. At the same time, there is a good chance that bishop f4 is the plan of Mamedyarov.
And Hikaru retreating his knight to e2. His idea being, I guess, that if the bishop does land on f3, it can be chased away by the knight. Oh, and it's there already. And here I was expecting Hikaru to develop the knight to d2 and chase it away.
But then there is some tactical idea. Bishop can capture the knight, takes, and then c takes d4, taking the central pawn. And there is a pin, so Black would be taking an extra pawn there.
Okay, and if the natural move isn't possible, then already White might even have to look at moves like bishop to g2. Okay, he reinforces the defense of e2. But what is Hikaru doing with his queenside pieces? And there we see a trade of pawns in the middle of the board.
Yeah, I think Hikaru will admit himself that these objectively aren't the best moves for white, but he's just asking big questions of Mamedyarov. And if you look at the clock times, it's a 4-minute time advantage now. And
Look at that!
But
Yeah.
queen d3, I was wondering.
also, wow, double exclamation mark there from
Bishop
Shak.
d3, bishop d, queen d3, bishop d4. Yeah.
If the white queen moves, then bishop takes d4, and there's a pin on the e-file. Double exclamation mark means it's a brilliant, unexpected move, and it is a sacrifice if this bishop is captured. The black queen, okay, we're going to see this on the board. She swoops in, and look at the white king. Is it going to survive, really, on f1?
Queen h6.
For geometry there, Judith. Queen back to h6.
Well, maybe
it's
it's
the white
not
bishop.
the best, of course. Maybe rook e8 is the best move because there's so much pressure on the e-file.
You got to carry on building, and well, Hikaru desperately needs to get those extra pieces into the game.
Well, Mamedyarov is in the game.
Yeah, it's like Hikaru raised the red
Right.
flag to the ball here, and
Knight takes d4 is incoming. So, I mean, can white play knight c3 and get away with everything? Oh, Hikaru, he's in desperation mode.
Mamedyarov leans back to check how many moves they have played. He will get increment in 21 moves time. He cannot think of that though. He's got 4 minutes and he needs to deliver checkmate to justify this piece sacrifice. But it looks good. It looks promising for black. Mamedyarov in the attack against one of the best defenders in the world, Hikaru Nakamura.
Probably after knight d4, he
Knight.
wants to take on d4.
Oof, giving up the white queen in some lines perhaps. This one's getting sharp. Knight d2, trying to eliminate black's bishop.
But white cannot actually play knight takes bishop at all because the knight on e2 will fall. And oh, Shak has spotted something and he takes the knight off the board.
Okay, white is going to end up totally strung up here, just totally paralyzed after rook takes bishop. Maybe just queen to d3.
What
Pin.
about queen takes bishop?
I was wondering whether you could actually use your idea of playing queen h6. But maybe, yeah, queen h6 is actually...
But then white, yeah, if white queen takes the rook, takes, king g7 and double attack the h6.
and it's happening, it's on the board. What's he going to do? Oh, Shak, what a move. And
Queen g2 will be
It's good.
possible to play.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about this. Okay, Shak now has got a third pawn, however, for his piece. The white
Beautiful
king's still
play.
weak. Yeah, Mamedyarov, giving the opportunity for Naka to take the 2 rooks for the white queen. Nakamura said no. And what do you think? Is white just too tied up here to hope for an advantage?
Well, Mamedyarov plays brilliantly, I think. Absolutely on a higher level than most of the Armageddon games, we can say, because it was a beautiful sacrifice and he's keep playing the best moves, I believe. Also, later on, maybe f5 is something to consider. Completely take out the bishop's power on h3. And for white, it's very difficult to make a move because now if king goes, for example, to g1, then queen d2, there is some tactics. And black just wants to play knight c2, for example, in the next move.
Huge threat. You're right, Judith. Knight c2.
Knight
If black's
e3.
knight jumps in. Yeah, all the forks in the world, and not easy here for Hikaru to guard against those. You can see finally he slowed down, eating up his time. Any defensive resource. Not easy. Knight c2, a killer threat. Oof.
Well, Shak is down to 3:46 in time, but I think looking his body language, he feels extremely comfortable right now.
Oh, and Hikaru moving his bishop to g4, but that doesn't deal with the threat of knight c2, does it?
It doesn't deal with knight c2. It also asks the question, what if f5? If black just pushes a pawn to hit this bishop. But Shak does, of course, jump in, and Nakamura, okay, giving up material.
Trying to consolidate, but black has too much pawns. Black has 3 pawns and a rook for the 2 pieces.
And what would be your pick, to leave a set of rooks on the board or to take everything off? And Shak says, you know what? I don't care. I will let white have that rook on the board.
Black should not exchange queens now.
Oh, and just as you say it,
Or
Judith.
in a better circumstances, right? But I would probably move away with the queen to d3 and after that rook c8. But you see,
Yeah.
the computer doesn't like the rook c8 move.
Question mark given to that move. Mamedyarov does have draw odds, and he still has the advantage, so Maybe in the grand scheme of things, trading the queens was fine, but objectively, with white's king being so weak, keeping the queens on would have made a lot of logical sense there. So Nakamura, can he work his endgame magic? The current material balance is white having a knight and bishop for black's rook and 3 pawns. That feels like too many pawns there, but Mamedyarov needs to find some active moves before white's pieces coordinate.
Well, if he stays calm and keeps the position, now king e3 can be interesting, and after rook a to c3, king d4 marching ahead. That can be an opportunity.
King e3 on the board.
On the board.
And I was wondering here whether black can actually step forward with the d pawn and give a check to the king.
That I like, but white is going to be playing king d3,
Yeah.
and maybe black will play somehow give up that pawn on purpose, and possibly playing rook check when the king takes the pawn and then the rook, for example, goes back. But now I think it's critical moment how Shak will play, but exactly he's going to be going on your way.
Yeah, but the more I looked at it, the more I didn't really like it. Because the pawn on d4 is a target in the long run, and the white knight now can jump to the c4 square. And that's why you see Shak give a check, but the king can step up the board and grab the pawn.
White's king leading from the front here, but at least he has won a pawn, and if he can somehow coordinate again, maybe move his knight forward, ooh, there's going to be checks.
Hikaru is giving a great fight after having a very difficult opening and the blunder.
But chat reminding us all that a draw isn't good enough for Hikaru.
But that's the thing, Mamedyarov is perhaps thinking too much of the draw. He had winning opportunities, he could have kept the queens on, gone for checkmate. At least momentum is on white's side. Whether objectively a win is possible, that's another question. But it's all about momentum in these Armageddon games. 2 minutes only for Shak here. I mean, it's going to be time scramble for the rest of time in this game. Okay, first, as you would say, Nakamura retreating his knight back to f1, covering his kingside pawns, and bishop to d5.
Very interesting decision, I must say. But rook e2 would be very good, I think.
Big threat there, maybe, Judith. Black's pawn's coming. How is white going to escape from this pin, this self-imposed pin that he's put on his bishop?
Well, Hikaru is untangling. He's lined up his rook to aid the bishop in his defense. And Hikaru just putting his pieces in safe squares. Oh, some hesitation from Shak.
I've seen Hikaru win these types of positions so many times. It never starts off well, but the longer he survives, the greater his chances will become. And now the white king is ready to escape from some pins.
Well, probably rook d3 will be on the board, just defending it.
Ah, look at that. All the pieces cuddling up, huddling up together in the center.
Black will have to play king f6, and probably he will be going back and forth.
Look at this, white's king might start infiltrating on the queen side. I don't know, it feels like Shak, he's just playing moves as quickly as possible.
But he wants to play f4 now to exchange, so that was, I think, a very good move. Probably should have been played one move earlier.
For the first time in a while, Shak has a plan to trade off all the kingside pawns.
Probably white will be going rook d4, stopping this move f4. Black attacks the knight.
Predicting everything here, Judith. And now the white knight lacks squares. Bit of a dilemma for Nakamura. Again, a draw not enough, otherwise he would simply step back with his rook. Okay, second time.
Repetition.
Ooh, he cannot repeat any longer, Nakamura. He needs a new idea.
And the players have now passed move 40, and that means they will be getting that 1 second increment per move.
Well, for Nakamura, it's very difficult to defend against f4. I think he will be going back to d4 with the rook, and after rook e2, king d3. No, he changes with the knight.
Yeah.
Regrouping.
The problem is white's kingside pawns are so weak, so vulnerable, and white is a bit stuck in the center at the moment. So
at the same time, Mamedyarov seems to be confused.
Yeah, Shak just needs to move. 1 minute now. He gives a check, forcing the white king to make a decision. Has to step back, surely. Going too far forward, I think you'll get punished. And, okay, quick instant reply by Mamedyarov. He's going for those white kingside pawns, but now the white king is running to their protection.
Both are playing with the pawn in their hands. They are quite nervous. What's going on?
Yeah, I can't blame them. I would be nervous as well. Right now, rook check. Mamedyarov needs this point if he wants to fight for the lead in the tournament. King f4. Oh, he's running into the lion's den here. But Mamedyarov just retreats, goes back.
Well, there is a blunder opportunity for Nakamura with knight e3, then rook f2 check and f6 mate.
Yeah.
And Shak now under the minute. And Hikaru with some decisions to make while he pushes his a pawn forward. But you see the evaluation bar go in black's favor. What is wrong with this pawn move?
I think rook h1.
Aha.
Yeah. Maybe there were some tricks there using the pin on the white bishop, but instead Mamedyarov just yo-yoing with his black rook on the second rank, just causing threats, annoying Nakamura here. Okay, but hesitation once more. He's under the 1 minute mark. He's under the 30-second mark even. Rook to e1. And Nakamura is surely going to improve his knight. It looks like somehow some small kind of missed opportunities, and the longer white survives, Nakamura is going to be gaining in confidence. Flagging could well be a thing here.
And just take a look at Shak's clock time. He's under 30 seconds and the moves are coming as quickly as they can be humanly made, advancing his king into the game. But it feels like this transition is somewhat easier for Shak because he can make those moves at tempo.
Huge, huge gain for Mamedyarov getting the rooks off the board. Without white's rook, it's going to be harder to hold the pawns together. No pass pawns for white. Black's rook will have a lot of fun on all the open files.
Still, it's anyone's game, you feel.
Well, 30 seconds on the clock is crazy, and black can lose some of the pawns, and knight e2 was very, very good move. Knight f4 now, grabbing the h5, though the white knight can get in danger after that.
Is it time for Hikaru to start staking a claim on the a6 pawn?
Yeah, white's bishop does keep that pawn under watchful gaze, and a check. Which way is white's king going though? Big decision. Do you go back, block the black pawns, or do you go for glory with the white a pawn?
And Shak, less than 10 seconds for Shak. He's nervous. You can feel the tension. He's in full focus. Rook moves.
Okay, we repeat the position once more.
It's getting very stressful. Pieces are not standing in the center of the square. Right, only seconds on the clock.
And that's why the 1 second increment is not a lot. Pieces go flying and Mamedyarov's going for it. We see the evaluation bar react. Black is winning here, but it is a race. And in a race situation, anything can happen. Wow, really nice check there. Mamedyarov throwing a pawn away to go for the white a pawn with his rook. Oh, pawns are running all over the place here. White's a pawn. Is it quick enough? The black rook's found itself trapped.
It's incredible, the fight he's giving.
He's trapped his own rook. Mamedyarov made that move.
1 second on the clock.
White's making a new queen.
It is. Anything can happen here.
Wow. Can he save his knight, Nakamura? That's the question. Or will he promote?
No, he advanced the queen.
Yeah. He's got to make a queen. He wants to move his knight, I think, but I don't think he should get too flamboyant here. Oh, wow, he does move his knight, threatening a knight
queen and queen 6
Oh, and Mamedyarov loses on time.
Oh, Hikaru wins the Armageddon game in the closing seconds, but what a battle. It looked like it was going to be a brilliancy from Mamedyarov, but Hikaru, just so resourceful, kept on defending, kept that game alive.
And actually, Judith, you